Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, beauty.
Everybody.
How are you guys? Long time no see.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and watching. We are finally back for another episode of Flamingo Cafe. I know y'all been waiting, but we are finally here. We are ready to bring something amazing to you tonight. Tonight, our topic is let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex.
Hey. Okay. Tonight we have a special guest with us, our Sorors Samantha McCoy. We are super glad to have her to chime in tonight on our topic. We are going to get started with some introductions because y'all ain't seen us in a while, and we may have some new people on the show. So, y'all know me. I'm the Houston Hottie. My second favorite, okay? I know Meg got the number one. Maybe I'm third because Beyonce too. But anyway, I'm Shania, y'all. Y'all can follow me on Instagram at _bougie spice because I'm just a little bit bougie and a whole lot of spicy, okay? All right. Passing it off to my sister over here.
Hello, I am Bev. Instagram is favorite holiday, and that's with 2 L's. And I am also in Houston. Camille.
Listen, I was waiting on Crystal to go next, so I was.
You was cute though.
You were sitting pretty. You were.
How y'all doing? I'm Camille. Yes, I'm your other Texas hottie. It's your girl. The Dallas-Fort Worth area. You can follow me on my business page at Nailed It by Camille. I do luxury press on nails. Thank you.
And I am your newest host, Crystal. You can find me on Instagram at _gorgeous _K. And I am also in Houston. I do want to let you guys know that the views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and the guests and do not reflect the views and or opinions of Beta Phi Omega Sorority Incorporated. We are going to bring you some good news tonight, and we're going to start with Miss Camille.
Let's get into it. Let's get into this daily news. Some news you could use. So, in today's news, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has got everyone, especially us feminists, upset. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He has decided to sign a new Texas legislature that is going to prohibit in Texas abortions as early as 6 weeks. Now, y'all, this is before some women even know that they're pregnant, okay? And this also is opening up the door for almost any private citizen to be able to sue these providers and others. So let's just rewind, okay?
Right.
Like, you want to ban abortions 6 weeks before most women, any women most, know that they're pregnant. That's where my first problem. Flock, tell me what you guys think about this.
It's ridiculous.
Right. Let's start there.
It's ridiculous. Let's start off with the obvious, is that it's ridiculous. There's a lot of young girls who end up in situations, they're pregnant, and because they have not learned their body yet, they don't know when their cycles, their cycles are regular, things of that nature. They don't pick up on signs or clues that they're pregnant in 6 weeks. If my math is right, that's only a month and a half.
Right. But when you find out, most of the times you're already 8 weeks.
Exactly.
When you find out that you're pregnant. So not even just young girls. You have adults that may be rape victims and things of that nature. So I just feel like it's my body and I should be able to choose if I want to carry this baby or not.
I just hate the fact how people who don't even carry children have so much to say about what we do with our bodies.
Absolutely.
And, if we want to term a child or things like that, you don't have to deal with any of it. And really, if you take you out the picture, the responsibility is always on the woman. So
Absolutely.
And I think like we always try to say there's adoption and there's this and there's other options, but we have to look at the number of children who are already in foster care, already looking for permanent homes. If someone is in a space and mindset and they know that this is not something they'd be willing to do, why not give them the opportunity to say, hey, we're gonna give you a fresh start, let's try again.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not to mention, people who unfortunately got pregnant through, sexual abuse or rape. So the topic of this discussion is what happened to the my body, my choice.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
With this bill, it's making it my body, your choice.
Your choice.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I just think about all of the other things that are going to come into play here. People are going to start going out of state to have this happen.
Yes.
This is going to cause a rise in like what we know as our back alley abortions.
Yes.
Because people are still going to want to, have abortions. It's still going to be a want, a desire. And since they can't do it here in the great state of Texas.
And so the people that doesn't have the resources or the funds to be able to go out of state, like she said, in the back alley, in somebody hotel room or somebody apartment.
It's just ridiculous. It makes me think of, back in the day when abortions weren't legal. Like you said, the back alley, a lot of, the health risk, I'm not for it,
Right.
And it just makes my skin crawl. It's just something about it that I just really can't understand. I can't wrap my head around.
Right. So have you seen Chloe Bailey's new video?
That's so big. What she said? Lord have mercy.
It's the name of the song.
Yes.
Mercy. All right. How do y'all feel about this transition from like little Chloe on the YouTube videos to
right? I mean, she's beautiful. Right. She's real beautiful.
It's not even little Chloe in the YouTube videos. A lot of us didn't even know that was her in the movie Fighting Temptations.
Right.
So
she's Beyonce in training,
right?
Yeah, Beyonce in training.
She has grown.
Beyonce must have been her mentor,
right?
Beyonce is her mentor. That is who is her. That's the label she's on.
Yeah, and I like how it's still tasteful. She's not out here,
right,
looking very, like other celebrities are. It's still tasteful. She's still covered up. But I don't care.
Camille's like, no.
She's been getting backlash about being half naked and different things like that. But
I don't know why. Backlash is because she's now an adult and we've
seen her as a little girl.
Right. The sisters,
Yeah. I feel like she's doing exactly what a 20-year-old should be doing.
She's fly. She's fly. Also, she answered some questions before her. Go ahead, Camille. No, I was just going to say she answered some questions before her video premiered. And one of the questions was, why are you showing so much skin? And she said, because it's my body. I worked very hard on it and I'm proud of it. And I applaud that and I agree because
once again, her body, her choice. And I think we have to stop.
Initially, she was insecure. She was an insecure person.
Yeah.
I think once somebody hyped her up, okay? And she made it do what it do, okay? She understood the
absolutely.
Exactly. And I look at Mulatto like that because I watched The Game.
Yes.
The show with JD when she was like a rapper in high school. And then when she came out, I was like, this is the same little girl.
Yeah.
But like you said, she's maturing and she's an adult now. She's very confident, but I feel the same way about her as I do about, as others do about Chloe. And, I think because she's a rapper and, rapping is a
little
different
bit more, yeah.
Right.
It like sex sells in the
Yeah.
rap.
Right.
It's a standard.
You said it, Shamie.
Sex sells, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I was personally here for the Medusa vibes. Like I don't know if y'all actually caught the video.
I loved it.
She was turning these men into stone.
Yes.
She didn't catch it. That's exactly what she wasn't even giving it up to him. She was just turning them into stone. So I'm here for it. Neither here nor there, though. Like I think that
evil, and she's joined the Illuminati, and
right.
That's BS. Oh
girl,
my goodness.
once upon a time ago, everybody was in the Illuminati.
Hello. If we go back to
Chris Brown,
early 2000s,
Beyonce,
Jennifer
Jay-Z.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody.
We had conspiracy. If you go back into the early 2000 YouTube, there's a bunch of
It's
conspiracy
still
videos.
there. Chris Brown, Beyonce, Jay-Z, everybody.
Kanye,
All of them. Everybody sold their soul.
They saying she sold her soul and her sister didn't.
Wow.
I think they took two different routes.
Right.
That's
right.
Extra. So let's be clear. We already know
Period.
that her sister is about to contract with Disney to be Ariel.
Yes.
She cannot be the sexy thing that Chloe wants to be.
Right.
They are no longer aligned.
And we have to understand they're not the same person.
They're not
twins.
Exactly.
Like everyone's just now finding out they're not twins. Like they're just in a music group.
Yeah, she's a little sister. Her vibe is different. She chose a different path. She's gonna become a Disney princess. Chloe's gonna become the next Beyonce.
I can see how Haley being a model, being big into fashion, because she's already at the Met Gala. They were serving looks. She was serving looks
honey.
on the runway.
Yeah, they have two personalities.
Yep. And that's okay.
Well, Beyonce dad, he's not happy about this comparison, as y'all know. Everybody comparing her to Beyonce.
Well, he doesn't even matter.
Right.
He doesn't even
She
work
been for him. So it's like,
why are you even speaking to her?
what he said, she sold it last year 50% off.
I'm
Girl.
Dead.
Right.
Cuddy didn't remember. That was Cuddy. It was Cuddy.
Yeah, and Haley is hot too, Jen.
Yes,
Yep.
and is.
Don't sleep on her yet.
And is. She's fine in her own way.
Yes.
They're two different types of fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're both out of my age range, though.
All right. So,
Right.
speaking of all of this, a lot of us stumble over conversations about the topic sex, but people who are into kink make an art of talking about it when they want to and don't want to. So here's their advice for making awkward talk sexy. Let's welcome our special guest, also our soror, Samantha McCoy. Woo!
Yes. Hi.
Hey, beautiful.
Hello, gorgeous.
How are you doing tonight? We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
I'm pretending this is champagne. It's water. It's water. It's spring water.
Well, welcome to the party.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we know you know a lot about sex and everything.
We don't want to say too much. But you are a guru of sorts. And so that's why we have you here, because you are going to give us some good information that we can all take back and that our viewers can take back with them to be more open to the conversation and maybe apply some of these tips and tricks in their own personal lives, you know? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, preface this by saying that, nothing makes me clutch my pearls. So I just want to say that. So if we are speaking openly and candidly and there's something that is off limits, let a sister know, because I am into the kink community. I have been for 10 years. And, I'm open to share a lot, but I'm also open to tone it down. So just let me know. let me know the boundaries, the safe words, and I will back off. So
let's just get started with a question. So how did you get started in the kink community, just in general? What made you gravitate towards that?
So about 10 years ago, I was dating somebody at the time who was into BDSM, and they asked me if I was interested. I had no previous knowledge at all. I grew up in a home that was very open and accepting, but I'd never heard of it. And so I was at the time going through a lot of mental health challenges, just with anxiety, severe depression. And this person was also a mental health provider. And so for them to be a mental health provider and then be a dominant in the BDSM community, it was almost like, oh, this is going to be healthy. So let's see how this can work.
Right.
And more than just the sex component of it, there are some people that are part of this community that have no sexual relationship. It is strictly, mental. It is emotional. It is, so at the time, my situation with this person progressed to an intimate sexual nature, but at first it had nothing to do with it at all. So that is something that people can take away from this conversation, is that all BDSM is not whips and chains and choking and all of the and doing all of these things that people are like, oh, most of it, some people are in it for other reasons. They're coming to heal from, abuse and trauma and lack of trust. And so I got involved out of curiosity. I'm curious about everything. I want to know everything, which is why I said nothing can surprise me. Like, you can't tell me nothing that I haven't done at least once. So, I had to try it. I had to see how this could work in my life. And then, it just became a thing for me because I was drawn to the emotional aspect of it before even the intimate physical aspect of it.
So for people that does not know what BDSM stand for, can you let us know what the acronym is?
I'm gonna type it because a lot of people have can everybody see the chat, like all the people in the guests?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna type it and explain it because I just want to make sure that we are clear about it, because there are different components to the BDSM community. We could talk about it all day. Like, there are certain people that are dominant and submissive. There's a whole community within the community. So I'm going to type it out just so we're clear, so people can jot it down. And then if people have questions, I'll answer it. I do this with so many different things, and I just want to make sure, because people are like, what does that mean? There are different components to the BDSM community. We can talk about it all day. Like, there are certain people that are dominant and submissive. There's a whole community within the community. So I'm gonna type it out.
Click it off. I did.
I sound crazy.
That little technology glitch.
Right.
So yeah. So bondage, discipline, sadism or submission, and masochism. And I'm gonna put that in there. That's what the BDSM stands for. And I'm gonna put it in the notes. Okay.
Absolutely, Crystal. Thank you for asking that question, because I'm not anyways.
Right.
We're all learning.
Yeah.
Right here tonight. The learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, learning opportunity. Pull out your notepad. Write some stuff down. Okay. All right.
And laugh for the people in the back, because I'm
Take some notes.
Okay. All right. So, can you break down each? I don't want to say category.
Acronym.
Part of the acronym. Yes.
Okay. So bondage, just exactly what it sounds like. Some folks are into, the bondage part of BDSM, tying up, restraints and everything. Discipline is exactly what it sounds like, which is also, it works in, we call dominant and submission DS. It works in DS situations where you are, you're owned or told what to do, when to do it, how to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it doesn't, and that's for some submissives or switches, because that's a different, like I said, it's community within a community. So a dominant is a person that's going to say, okay, and it can be male or female, they can be male or female or gender non-conforming, they can be whatever. Just because a person presents as masculine doesn't mean that they're dominant. That is very much a situation that people get confused in the community. Right. There are many dominants that are highly feminine, very feminine. They present as feminine. There are many submissives that present as extremely masculine. So the discipline part is just, and it can range from that person, the dominant person telling you, what time to wake up, what to wear, what to, making sure you're eating, checking in on you. It is a very intense emotional situation. And it works. A lot of people say, okay, well, I don't want to be told what to do shit, but it works because for someone like myself, who is a boss in my regular life, everything about my life, I have to be bossy. I have to, when I'm at work, I'm a manager. I manage all these staff members. Right. When I come home, I got to take care of this house all by myself with my son. And he looks to me, people in the spiritual community that I give readings to and I am charged with are coming to me all the time. So I have to be a boss all the time. And the way that submission for me works is that I don't have to be on like that all the time. I don't have to do anything but just exist.
Let your mind rest and let somebody else take the lead.
Right. That's it. And it requires a level of trust, because I have always, like I said, I got into this community because of trust issues. I have always struggled with trusting everybody, my mother, my lovers, my family, my friends, and all of that. And so this requires me to be extremely open and vulnerable in ways that are healing those trust issues. So when I'm able to give someone full and complete access to me and know that they would not take advantage of it, that they're not going to go beyond any boundaries that we have previously set, and I can just exist in this euphoric space of being taken care of. And when I fail at taking care of myself because I'm so busy taking care of other people, it works for me. Like I will forget to eat.
Right.
I'll forget to eat. I'll forget to eat, or I don't have to think about my nail appointment because the dominant has already made the appointment and paid for my nail.
And paid for it.
So that's how, and that's why it's when people want to get involved in this community, they're thinking, oh, it's whips and chains. No, it's also, value and worship. And, I tell people all the time, I have it on my Facebook page that I'm the altar and the offering. And I mean that. Like in this situation, I am exactly that. I'm the altar, I'm the offering. There's nothing that can be done without my say so. And I'm literally giving myself as the offering, and I'm literally allowing myself to be worshiped as the altar. So I don't have to think about anything. So so that's the way that works. I think that was the discipline, and the sadism, which is the submission, which is what I talked about, and then the masochism, and that can involve many different components. A lot of people like a little pain with their pleasure. And that would fall under that. Like, and that can range from very little bit or a whole lot of it. Like a whole lot. Yeah. So that is that.
Camille, what do you have to say? Right.
I know you're quiet.
Enjoying, taking notes.
Our brother said, what about switches in the comment?
Exactly.
What about switches?
Switches question mark.
Right.
Switches are people. It's not like a switch that you're getting beat with a kid or like when you were a kid. Switches are people that can either be dominant or submissive. They can switch it off. So when they're, and they choose that, like they can choose when they want to be dominant and they can choose when they want to be submissive. So they're a switch. And then there's additional components to the switches, and that there are some people that are primal switches, which they are basically animalistic in their approach to, they're going to look at you as prey and they are basically coming at you in a very like, and they're usually like, they're usually, they will wear like the fangs in their teeth, like fangs, and but they're also switches, and they look like us, y'all. So some people think that this is just a Caucasian thing. No, that is not the case. And also BDSM, for our community looks a little bit different. Yeah, because we do everything different, but ours is a little bit different. And I actually hosted an event a couple weeks ago where I had Black folks that were talking about BDSM, and there was an actual primal switch on there. He's so damn fine, y'all. Anyway, Jesus help me.
And the thing is, especially in the African American community, we already do a lot of this, but don't put a title on it. Because, in relationships, someone's dominant, and things like that. So we practice some of the, terms, but we just don't call it that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the one thing about BDSM that it can be harmful. And I try to tell people all the time, we can glorify it, and the media has glorified it. And, people are talking about the, choking and all this and that, but people can get hurt. Not just physically, but emotionally, people can get hurt. People have watched 50 Shades of Grey and they all of a sudden think that they're dominant. And that's not the case. I have been in a situation before, and we don't get into this community lightly. We don't just jump right on into it. There's a process that we follow. We're vetted, like we vet other people and people vet us to make sure that we are appropriately ready for this relationship, because it is a relationship, so we talk about those things. We actually have contracts that we sign, and we say, oh no, this is an absolute no, this is an absolute yes. This is what this looks like. We have thought this out so that when it does go south, and the likelihood of it being unhealthy is minimized because we've talked about it in advance. We've sat down and negotiated this mutual agreement. So, watching 50 Shades of Grey doesn't make you a dominant. Wearing lingerie and getting on your knees doesn't make you a submissive.
And a leash and a choke. Yeah.
Because the minute that somebody, seriously, and I said this in an event the other 2 weeks ago, the minute that someone puts a gag ball in your mouth and you can't breathe, that's a problem. You no longer, we just took it from like 50 Shades of Grey to God, somebody trying to hurt me, so it's all about being responsible and not just jumping into this lifestyle. Yes, play around and, play around, but like my mom used to say, like, you probably ain't ready for the big dogs yet. And that's true. It's true.
Sam, before we ask the next topic, can you move your camera up a little bit so we can have your whole face in the
I was leaning it on my light.
Yes, now
perfect.
Johnny Bravo vibes a little bit. So with everything, what's like one night stands? Where does that fall in with? Like, can you have one night stands if you're BDSM, or
in this kink community, can you have a one night stand?
Absolutely. No. This kink community has no ceilings. Like, again, it's all about like your awareness going into something that, okay, well, you know what, this is what it's going to be. There are a lot of times that there are like underground, like dungeons and parties and little mixers that people come together and learn about different things related to the community. You don't know unless you kind of see it in action. And so you go in there with the negotiation, like I mentioned before, which is extremely important. Hey, if you're walking in single, then obviously you're walking in single. But if you are owned by someone, or you have a dominant, or you have a submissive, or whoever, like, you make that negotiation up front. Like, are we going to sleep with other people up in this thing? Are we going to accept people for the night? What does that look like? Are they taking the ass home afterwards? Are we taking them home?
Like a party, like when you go to the club, then you just
And sometimes it actually works to your advantage to have a one night stand as long as it's safe, because that's how you kind of, you see kink in action and see, maybe there was something that you were closed-minded about before that you see it in action, and you're like, and somebody else brings another little level of voyeurism to the table, and you look at it and you're like, I could do that, maybe it's a yes, So I think one night stands are in my life now. I probably wouldn't do it because there are such thing as spiritually transmitted diseases, and I'm not about that. But I definitely in the past have done it. I'm not gonna lie about it, and it served its purpose. I realized some things that I liked and some things that I was like, let me just try one more time. Nah, I don't like it. One night stands help because I just throw them in the trash when I'm done. Like, that's it. I don't have to see you no more.
Right. And we actually have another guest who is a sex therapist and an author, Miss Tanya. She can tell us all the other things about all of this, and we would love to hear the conversation from the therapeutic side and the fun side.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Good. We are so happy to have you.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here. I do apologize about my tardiness. My time different from y'all. So sorry. But I love Miss McCoy and this the primal switch. I loved it. I love what you were saying. I got you. I love it. I love it.
If you're interested in what a primal switch looks like, you can follow my TikTok crush, and his name is Tamani the Beast, and that is a primal, a black primal switch. He's 6'4". Jesus Lord.
Drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments.
Right.
We'll go back
We
later.
need to see.
Right. Yes, can we pull it up? Can we pull it up on the screen?
I can't even tell you. It is just, oh God. Duh. Okay. I'm done.
All right.
Okay, with y'all.
Miss Tanya, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Tanya Alkhaliq. I'm currently in Houston, Texas. I will be going back to North Carolina very soon. My mom recently passed, so I'm just trying to get things together down here. I am an author. Excuse me?
We're in Houston too.
Oh, hey! We should leave before I leave. Yeah, we should leave before I leave. But yeah, so I'm an author, sex therapist, life coach. I'm also a consecrated bishop in the Lord's Church as well. So I have a lot of things going for me. I'm a very, very eclectic person. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I'm not very good at talking about myself, ironically. That's kind of weird, but yeah.
And so, Tanya, can you, to add into this kink community and the BDSM, can you explain to us how sex can be therapeutic?
Well, sex is a very therapeutic thing. It goes into the psyche, it goes into the mental constraints and the mental constructs and the way that we're built. As a matter of fact, the Bible itself and Quranic scripture, they're all built on sexuality and sexual energy. So sex is one of the most therapeutic things that you can do for yourself. Now, I do understand that a lot of people have issues with sex, but then those same people are some of the most sexually repressed people, so they react in certain ways outside of themselves or outside of their communities that they're in such a way that it's actually detrimental to their very psychological health. So many times I've seen this, not just in the church, but just people in just general. But the therapeutic part of sex is the fact of you get a chance to release, you get a chance to take the energy that you've harnessed in yourself, and you get a chance to explore that with somebody else. You get a chance to connect. And of course, everybody wants to connect. Everybody wants to be connected to something or somebody. So if you are connecting in certain aspects, especially the sexual aspect of that, that can lead to very powerful realization for you. It can lead to very powerful ways for you to conduct yourself, and even for you to establish energy within yourself that you can use in other areas of your life.
Now, I know that we're talking about sex, but for our people who practice abstinence and celibacy, how can this
Mhm.
apply? How can they release?
Well, that's one thing that people fail to understand, that everything that's created during sex in your mind, the hormones and all of the things that are created during the sexual experience, you can actually create those things in your mind yourself through the vehicle of meditation. So if you learn how to meditate appropriately, you can actually go ahead and create those same euphoric experiences that you could also once again use from your own mind. But it takes someone to really sit down and really deal with themselves and really learn how to meditate, not just take a class, because meditation is a spiritual practice. And so the spiritual practice has to come from within. Nobody can teach you really how to do it. They can give you some of the, some pointers and things. I can also give you, we can always give pointers of
Yes.
how we learn to meditate.
Mhm.
But the reality is that is a spiritual practice. So that actually comes from the very soul of yourself. It comes from within. So unless you're learning and wanting to go within in the depths of yourself, going into your heart, going into your mind, going into the very soul part of yourself and really connecting with the divine, you'll never be able to get to that place. But people who are absent can experience those same feelings of euphoria, as well as utilize those energies connected to that, and you don't have to be with other people. So, and then of course you could also, if you just so choose to. I personally do not like to, and I'm kind of celibate myself, and absent of myself. But that's how I know this to be a fact. So a lot of people really need to take the time to really deal with themselves, and that's part of the issue that a lot of us in this world, we don't want to deal with ourselves.
That's that self love. Let's my sister say masturbate.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. And a lot of people have issues with masturbation. They're scared of masturbation. They've been taught masturbation is wrong, or is other than that. And I still know people to this day who are in preachers, leaders, teachers. Don't masturbate. This and the other. Got whole sermons about it. But I am not of that. I am not of that thought. I think that it is probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, because the reality is that energy there, that energy that you have, what that does to you is, for women, it actually makes you more masculine. It really does. It makes women much more masculine, and it makes women lash out on people. It makes women do all kinds of crazy things because they have so much pent up energy. Baby, go get you that one. I wish I had one with me. I don't have one right now, but but yeah, but go get you one.
If you're practicing abstinence and celibacy, is it okay to masturbate? Because some people think that it's not okay to do that
because
while they're practicing it.
What is the issue? Because the reality is, you're not dealing with other people.
Right.
You are going into yourself. So if you're going into yourself, you're still not dealing with other people. So I don't see how, people, I think people just have a general consensus that sex and sexuality is wrong, and that you have to be in a ordained marriage relationship in order for you to be sexually active, even with yourself. And I think that is probably one of the most absurd things that I've ever heard in my life. It is absolutely and positively out of control and absurd.
Somebody write down the word absurd. We need a card.
Right.
We need a card.
Say it again.
Absurd. We gonna make cards that say absurd from this point on the show. We will have cards that say absurd. That is a new word for us. Thank you. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
I think what Tanya said was so important, because for me, I would never subscribe to a spiritual practice that did not see sex as sacred and did not see sex as part of worship, because you are a God body. You come from the divine. You are divine. And so for me, BDSM for me definitely alchemizes with my spiritual journey. In the way that, I practice EFI, and I'm also a practicing witch, and I do a whole bunch of other metaphysical things and dabble around. But one thing that I recognize as a similarity was the same way, and I'll speak on different spiritual practices because I followed them all. But when I was a Christian, we kneeled before an altar in the Christian faith. The body, you are an altar. You are an altar, like I said before. And y'all don't got no problem kneeling before an altar in any other situation. You're kneeling before an altar, and there are men and women on that altar, and you're kneeling. And then for me and my practice of Ifa, I have to double and kunle when I get in front of an Iya or Babalawo, this in almost the identical way that I would if I was kneeling for a dominant. It almost looks the same. I think Nicole Lanier is on here as well. Hi, Iya. But you can definitely attest to the fact that, kneeling in the BDSM community is very important. It's how we show respect. It is how we are readying ourselves for this submissive space or this dominant, the submissive space that we're about to go into. And in almost the same way that I would have to greet Nicole Lanier as an Iya, I would have to do the same for a dominant. So we are God body. And I do remember a spiritual advisor once told me, which mirrors what Miss Tanya said, is, it for those people who are practicing abstinence and not sleeping with anybody. She told me that can also be very spiritual in and of itself. Some of us have to do that in order to, heal past traumas. Some of us have to do that when we are preparing to release old energies from people that we allowed access to us that we really shouldn't have. And now we want to do better, and so we have to, cleanse our spiritual energy. Again, spiritually transmitted diseases. So, for that spiritual advisor, she told me, the best thing to do is just to hold all of that sexual energy in. Hold it until you are about to burst like a volcano. And when spirit has led you to gift that to somebody else, oh shit, you about to turn them out. You about to turn them out, but you're about to turn yourself out because you're about to be so free. You've let this sexual energy build up, which is highly spiritual. You've allowed yourself to, even when you felt like, oh no, I want to do it. You hold it again, like keep holding it and holding it and holding it. And then, you don't have to touch yourself. Hold that in too. And then when you feel like you are spiritually ready to gift that to somebody, you have done the work. You have went inside. You have, I'm sure, had dreams and manifestations about how this is going to play out when you finally let that volcano burst. Honestly, it is the most healing and spiritual thing you can do to hold it sometimes. Sometimes you got to hold it, hold it because everybody is not worthy of it. So I think that makes so much sense. What Miss Tanya said, I refuse to practice anything that doesn't see sex as, that sees sex as, monstrative or, against God. I am God. Like I come from God. I feel like, I can't look at myself any other way. And when I'm with somebody, and they're a dominant, I elevate them to God. So they got to be ready for me because I'm coming with that. I'm coming with that. Like I'm coming to you as a God body, and I need you to see you as that, or I won't sleep with you. I can't sleep with you. I've done too much work. I've done too much work on me. I've held it. I've held it until it was about to burst.
So we have a question. What would be your advice to those with partners who are insecure about their partners masturbating without them?
Okay.
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
The question was, what do you say to partners who are insecure about their partners masturbating? Is that what the question is?
Without them.
Oh, without them. Oh,
yes.
Baby, listen. Okay, so the reality is this: just like within Miss McCoy's community, the BDSM community, I'm like a what do you call it? A novice member therein. Don't really know a lot about it, but very, very interested to learn more.
Yeah.
But but one of the biggest things, and I think she'll agree with me, you have to be so secure in yourself that that does not affect you, because the reality is, and I'll just tell a little story. So there was one person that I was dealing with many years ago, and he would never do the, get to climax. Hours and hours, never climax. I felt so horrible because that had never happened to me before. And one day I just had to sit down, because I was like, what's the point? You never gets there, and I must be, I second guessed myself. I second guessed everything that I was doing. I second guessed everything. And he sat down and he actually said that it was what do you call it? A medical issue.
Erectile
So
dysfunction.
you have to, yeah, it was a medical issue. So you have to be careful of yourself, and you have to be what is the word? You have to have that type of energy of yourself to be able to deal with that, and you just have to build yourself up. You can't allow that kind of thing to happen, and you have to be there for yourself.
Absolutely. And I think too, because I think, with what you said, Miss Tanya, I feel as someone that recovered from breast cancer, I wasn't feeling like I was my very best self. Like physically, I didn't like the way that I looked when I was in transition from, all of the multiple surgeries before they put me back together with these beautiful perky titties. I didn't feel like I was
They look
myself.
great, y'all.
Thank you. I would want people the only way that if I was with somebody at the time, I would have preferred for them to masturbate. And and when people start feeling like a little insecure about their partner doing it a lot, how about you join them? Be like, oh, okay, make a scene out of it. Be like, okay, or challenge them in public places. Maybe that might excite you. Be like, oh, okay, we're at dinner under the table. I want you to do this, and that might make it so that you feel like you're a part of it. And then when they consider doing it again, they'll be like, oh shit, this person that I was with, challenged me here. And then next thing you know, next thing, yeah. So, maybe if the masturbation is like making you uncomfortable,
I'm good. We're here.
try to insert yourself into it. And you're not going to be able to insert yourself into it all the time, because that is someone's sacred space. And sometimes you need your sacred space. Just like sometimes we have to go get our nails done, and that's our me time. For some, masturbation is their me time. So it's actually understanding that sacred space. But if it becomes so much that it starts making you feel away, insert yourself in it. Challenge them in a public place. Be like, oh, we're driving. So this is what I want you to do while you're driving. And I'm going to just sit here and watch. Just insert yourself.
Speaking of inserting yourself, sis, I'm glad you said that, because they have these sex toys. There's two hot sex toys out. There's the rose, and then there's this vibrator. Now, that's a good way to insert your partner, is this vibrator, and they control the remote.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, okay.
It's either the rose or this vibrator. Tell me about it, because I saw one TikTok, one girl, her guy had the remote, going in the store. They were having
that video, the Normie song. They were like in the middle of Walmart or something,
right?
And he pressed the button.
Yes, have full control.
Yes. Like full control.
Yes.
Like at random places, at random times. She's walking and she's all of a sudden just break down. It was hilarious.
I saw one when they were on vacation.
Yeah.
And and he turned it on, and she was like,
and she was at the checkout talking to the lady, and he turned it on, and she was like, oh, lady,
I think that's beautiful.
Yes.
What about what are your views on polygamy and monogamy? We have a lot of people that are for it. A lot of people like, nope, that don't work for me. What do you guys think?
I think poly is something that has to also be of understanding of, you know, like all parties involved. I consider myself poly, and I'm not in a poly dynamic now, but all parties have to be involved. 50% of y'all can't be poly if you're in a relationship. You know, that's the problem, that, you know, there's somebody that is, you know, behaving very poly, but they're really not poly, they cheating. So it's just like poly is about consent all across the board. Now, does poly, you know, does poly eliminate natural feelings like jealousy? No, because I have been in poly relationships and I have still become jealous. You know, even though we were all dating each other and dating separately, you can still become jealous. That is a thing. That's normal because it's a relationship. I think it requires, you know, very open communication. This is, you know, it could be a three people situation. It could be a multiple people situation. I think it is beneficial. The very first poly situation that I was in was beneficial because I was a single mom, and, you know, I had 2 lovers at the time and I needed to work. So I always had somebody there to help with my son. I always had, you know, I'm not good at math and my son was failing math, and one of my partners was a math teacher. So we all, you know, it can definitely work, but 50% of y'all can't be poly. You know, 50% can't be. It has to definitely be. And just because you choose to have a threesome doesn't mean that you're poly. That's something that is that we need to make clear. If you have a threesome and you have negotiated with your partner that is a one-time thing or maybe a multiple time thing, or, you know, whatever, that don't make y'all poly. Okay, it doesn't. So, you know, just to have the stigma of poly, sometimes for some people are like, I don't want to be poly. But and you know, even to have a threesome, that is not poly. That's just you having a threesome, boo. Right. You know, you don't have to claim poly.
Poly is a whole lifestyle.
It is. It's a whole lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that
I agree with you 100%.
Discussion after discussion, like
what do you think?
Assurance, you know, reassurance and all of that.
What do you think are some, like, if someone's interested in living a poly lifestyle, they don't know too much, what do you think is a great place to start to understand it, and start to build the foundation for having a strong poly relationship?
Therapy. I think it starts with therapy, and I mean that, like a therapist that is open and affirming and that understands poly dynamics. You can even Google or reach out to people in the poly community because some of them know mental health providers. That is a prerequisite for every poly relationship. Every poly relationship that I've been in since my first 2. We must go to therapy because I need to understand what your triggers are. I need to understand how this is going to work. I need you to understand me and why I chose the lifestyle that I chose. I don't want there to be any issues coming up, you know, about marriage and this and that. I need us to be on the same page. So I think it starts with going and seeing if this is something that you want to actually commit to, or is it just like we said, you know, I'm kinky and I want to have sex and bring somebody in from time to time, you know? So I think it starts for me, it started with therapy.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Tanya?
I agree with you 100%. Therapy is probably the most important thing that anybody can do. And I don't care what kind of relationship you're in. Therapy is the thing that you need to do because you're going to both bring, it don't matter, because you're going to bring in your issues and baggage, whether you want to or not, whether you try to or not. There are always going to be issues. There's always going to be baggage. There's always going to be something that you might have never dealt with, and this person will trigger you that fast that you had no idea. Oh my God, this triggers me from my childhood. Now you're sitting in a corner somewhere looking crazy, trying to figure out what's wrong with you. You know, it happens just like that.
And
it happens just like that. Monogamy, polygamy, polyandry, whatever you are in,
friendship.
It happens just like that.
I love it. Sisterhood.
Yeah. Because the drama of that, the drama of your emotions, the drama of your mind, and the drama of your experience will always consistently play out until you give it a new set of rules to follow. You're going to automatically go into those automatic rules. You're going to automatically go into those automatic experience or those automatic ways of responding until you can consciously bring yourself forward and learn how to deal with that and bring yourself into the situation present, not in the situation past that has happened to you. And then you got to get away from the stories that you create concerning the situation that happened to you in the past, because we all make up these stories about, this X, Y, and Z happened to me, but then you make up a story about why this happened to me. You haven't even talked to the person that it happened with. You have no idea what they were going through. You have zero idea of really what's going on. All you know and what you can really identify with is the reality is, this is what happened to me. Now, how is that going to affect me, and how am I going to allow it to affect my life in the future, or even in the present? And am I going to continue to allow that to rule me, or am I going to take control and allow and rule myself? Because as she said, and I agree with you 100%, we are gods. So since we are gods, we have to walk in the authority and the power that is invested in our soul, that is invested in us. It's there, but we don't walk in it because we're afraid to be who we are. So once we're unafraid to be who we are, we can walk in the power and authority, and we can command things to be as they should be in our own lives and make our lives into our real lives. Absolutely. And stop playing these games with people, and even playing games with ourselves, because that's what we do a lot of times. We play so many games with ourselves, and then we get mad. Then we get mad about the fact, they play games. No, baby, you played the game. They told you who they were. You didn't listen. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I so agree. Miss Tanya, when you are in Miami again, please look me up, honey. We will go and have a drink together and go have dinner.
So I'm gonna have to add you. I'm gonna have to add you on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Okay, I'm gonna have to add you. I'm gonna have to add you.
I post a lot of sex. I post a lot of sex stuff.
That's fine. That's fine. I love it.
I'm just making it clear.
That's fine.
I am oftentimes I'm half naked on Facebook because this is how I reclaim my power back. I'm not afraid of my body anymore. I used to be, and this is how I reclaim my power back after cancer. It's like, for me, I'm going to be as naked as I possibly can. And if you don't like it, you don't have to look. I'm now doing I'm now doing BDSM. I'm doing like BDSM and kink lingerie modeling for women-owned businesses. And I'm like, I just told my family, unfollow me now, because I'm going to be naked. If I can get away with showing these perky designer titties, I would, but they would block me on Facebook. But I'm trying to be naked. This is, I earned it.
All right.
I love it.
Thank you all so much for all of your questions. So tonight we had a lot of interesting conversations about sex. Some of these things may be for you. Some of them may not be. So in a perfect world, loving people wouldn't spread diseases to each other, right? But no one is perfect. We're all human. So is your partners. So instead of taking chances, have a heart-to-heart with yourself and decide what you need to do to stay protected. So what you can do, protecting yourself, is not being selfish. You can have a safe sex word. You and your partner can get tested together.
Should.
Always use protection. Wash up. Empty your bladder to avoid infections. Remember to wash your hands. Keep your fingernails clean, especially if you wear acrylics. Remember to clean your toys properly.
Yes.
Bacteria can last on unclean surfaces for weeks.
And get new toys when we get new partners.
That part.
New toys, new partners.
Also, last but not least, abstinence may not be the coolest, but it's definitely the safest. So I want to thank you all tonight for tuning in. I want to give a special thank you to our two lovely guests. And we want you to tune in to episode 2. It's going to be on October 6th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. 8 p.m. Eastern,
right?
Standard Time.
We in Texas, sorry.
What about your friend? What about your friend?
Okay. Y'all want a part 2 to this? Drop that in the comments.
Yes.
Let us know if y'all want a part 2 to this because
We can
I
continue
feel
the conversation.
there was more that we could have touched on, but we just don't have the time. So let us know.
We love y'all.
We love y'all.
Thank you guys for tuning in. October
Yeah.
6th. What about your friends?
We'll see y'all there.
Bye.